Give the council a short update on OnLight. For those who don't know, there's new members. OnLight is our fiber optic ring that runs around the city. It provides high-speed broadband to all the city buildings, as well as some other non-governmental organizations, businesses. We have a number of clients, but there, I think, is going to be I'll explain why the city council needs to be brought up to speed to this as we get towards the end of the presentation, and we'll try to keep it short. So as I said, there was some federal money available. Many municipalities set up these fiber optic rings. Aurora's was set up in 2012. It's a nonprofit. There's also a 501 LC3, which is a corporation that specifically provides internet to our corporate businesses and clients. This was originally set up to serve the city with high-speed, low-cost fiber optic broadband. The city owns the actual fiber. I'm sure a number of you have seen these agenda items come through. So we own all of the infrastructure, and OnLight is the nonprofit that manages it, similar to we own River Edge Park and ACA manages the park. Next slide. There's roughly 60 miles of fiber running throughout the city. There's currently 16 customers, and then I already talked about all the city facilities that are part of the fiber optic ring as well, including all of our wells, this building, the new Public Works building, the new fire stations, and the Green Freedom Habitat for Humanity project. The IT department did an excellent job getting NTI, which is our contractor to run fiber over there, free of charge. So a little shout out to the IT department. Next slide. There is a master service agreement between the City of Aurora and OnLight. To my knowledge, there's 2 of these. We've been digging through a lot of the paperwork. One was set up initially in 2012 and then a modified version in 2015. It does allow for the mayor and the CIO are automatically appointed. Additionally, 1 alderperson. So we've had 2 meetings. The first was just myself and the CIO to get a grasp on some of the finances. The board actually makes the appointment. We appointed Alderman Larson, who's the only person on this city council to be the alderman representative voice. And then there's 4 other members that we have yet to appoint. Next slide. This is what it looks like graphically. If you look at the western side, you can see that we ran a leg all the way out to the airport. And then if you look at that strand that runs into Chicago, this is only 2 fibers in a bundle that we're currently renting that run into Chicago Trading Center. We're currently paying $14.50 a month, I think, to rent these and rent a room up there to facilitate them. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the presentation. OnLight is also close to $1 million in debt. We've taken out several lines of credit, letters of credit with Old Second to facilitate the organization over the past couple years. During my first meeting, I learned that OnLight is running at roughly a $27,000 monthly deficit. I'll talk about what we're doing to fix that in a second. And then the other portion, and this is why I'm briefing the council on this, is that if OnLight dissolves, all the assets revert back to the City of Aurora per the MSA. Currently, we have about enough oxygen to get us to the end of the month. And we're working to try and make us a little more financially solvent. Next slide. Really quick, how did we get here? Apparently, in the last couple of years, there's been 3 failed attempts to take fiber to home. Some of you may remember the relatively high-profile smart city approach out of the gate. Apparently, that resulted in over $113,000 in legal fees. OnLight staff was costing us about $200,000 a year. And then there was some unregulated debit card expenses for marketing purposes, of which $10,000 was even spent between the April election and the inauguration on May 13th. Next slide. This is probably the bigger problem. Financially, you can see how some of that money was spent between events, networking, airfare, lodging, hotels, limo services, cars, a lot of bars and restaurants, even adult entertainment clubs. Initially in 2018, there was a lot of sponsorships. The political contributions we never saw show up in D2s, but we also never saw the money come back. Over $50,000 in cash withdrawals and a few conferences and marketing expenditures. Next slide. The good news is, as the debit card and former CIO traveled from Madrid to Ireland to Florida and Las Vegas on several occasions, the majority of the money was spent in Aurora at Aurora businesses. So that's some good news. Next slide. There was also some large-scale events. You may remember the 605 Innovation District, which cost upwards of $50,000, which was one single event, but there is, to this date, still no Innovation District, and appears to be a pretty significant waste of money. Next slide. The good news is we got one new customer since 2018. We lost 12 customers. Again, I mentioned the 3 failed attempts at fiber to home. Sadly, there was no serious attempt at the $1 billion in Illinois BEAD grants. This was one of the things that I had pursued and worked with the Illinois Broadband Office to try and get us a shot at that grant money. There was a tranche being released, but for the most part, they've already invested in different municipalities and different counties. There's also a smart city media contract. We're working to try and, these are the 8 kiosks that are around the city. They haven't paid their bill, so we are working to try and get that money back, to get them to pay their bill. But I mean, the bottom line is that, after spending a significant amount of money, there's been very little business development efforts, travel, restaurants, and conferences, but very few results. Next slide. So I talked about the 2 fiber strands that run into Chicago. This is a $1,415 monthly rental space. We are also renting a space in CME for $5,000 a month. We're in the process of canceling those. We canceled our $900 a month monthly rent, and we're currently working to replace and phase out some of the staff that were working for OnLight. I did get a community member with a serious tech background to serve as a volunteer for the next month, for the next 3 months. And then we have a part-time CFO who is also restructuring his contract, which was set to expire in April, to expire at the end of 3 months. So the Illinois Broadband Office did provide us a temporary consultant to sort of help us chart out a future. And then the next slide. And these are the goals, is to stabilize us financially so we are not, paying the $27,000 a month in the hole. A big portion of that, almost $20,000, is debt service. We need to work hard to improve customer service and customer retention and try and get back some of the customers that we lost over the years. And the reason I say that is because the fiber is already running there. We don't have any infrastructure costs affiliated with it. It's just going to be trying to get them to sign back up. And it's my understanding, even District 129, we didn't even apply for that RFP. So that might be an easy one, is to work with some of our existing, our former clients. We also want to make sure that we're competitively priced. Apparently we lost some of our clients because we were not competitively priced. And then the other person that this volunteers, the other responsibility that this volunteer is going to have to do is work with the city and work with Scientel if we have any outages or fiber cuts to maintain customer service. There was a bit of a response necessary during the storm as some of our facilities went down. But the goal is to bring OnLight back online. And then a second phase would be, once we've stabilized things, to try to see what we could do to go fiber to home. Unfortunately, it sounds like the federal moved over to the state. $1 billion has already been appropriated, so it's not like we're having any new outside revenue coming in to support OnLight. But if things do collapse, I just wanted to make the council aware that we would have to look at and explore bringing this back in in-house and continuing to service our customers and making sure that our city buildings are all online. I mean, that's going to be very important and vital to the city's operations and cybersecurity. So there's a lot more detail in all of this, but for the most part, I just wanted to let the council know as we continue to transition over to new leadership. And I know that Austin and perhaps Alderman Larson are going to be working to try and fill out the board, so it's a 7-person board. So if anybody knows anybody with an IT background that wants to serve and bring something to the table, certainly open to those suggestions. That being said, if in 3 months the board doesn't exist, people need to be made aware of that. So that's really all I have, unless anybody has any questions on this. I didn't want to delve too much into it, but I did want to make the council aware. And if you have any board ideas, I'm open to those. Okay, with no questions, we'll move to
Mayor Laesch, I do have a
Alderman
question.
White.
So, wondering, it sounds like, well, question is there anybody in OnLight that is responsible for client relationship and new business development?
So it sounds, there's a different, the current executive director was not hired for that purpose. He was hired to take fiber to home. It sounds like they hired someone prior to him coming on that was supposed to do that, but did not do a good enough job at it. So right now we have one person that's going to work as a volunteer for 3 months to try and do that. We have found the context, and the first thing is to try and communicate with them that there's new leadership, and see if there's any issues with our existing customers. And then the second step will be to try and reach out to those that we've lost and find out why we lost them and try and bring them back.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Alderman Masiacos.
Mayor, appreciate the opportunity. Stunned is an understatement here about what you presented. When I was on finance previously, several years ago, the late Alderman Bob O'Connor asked for the paperwork and actually the financials for OnLight Aurora. And I believe the response was by staff, don't ask me, it's on the mayor's desk. People need to know that there were questions being asked in regards to what the situation was with OnLight, but there was a refusal. To refusal to the point where it went to the newspaper, and even the previous Steve Lord wrote a comment by the previous mayor in regards to the finance committee and trying to remind them what their responsibilities were. Not like we didn't know what they were already. One of the comments I made, though, after that article was that the financial stability of OnLight is a financial security for rural Illinois. And right now, what you're showing us is of serious concern for our financial security. Over $7,000 for adult entertainment, over $50,000 in withdrawals, cash withdrawals for what? How are we going to find out what's really what really happened there, and what's the next step? So now we've got it out there. I would say I'm stunned again. What's the next step? So we're down, we have to wait 3 months, and that's it? We're just going to let everything go under the rug?
Well, the goal is to stabilize it and to keep OnLight up and functional, not to bring it into the city. And that's for several reasons that have to do with state law about it, keeping an arm's length from the city. So the goal is to stabilize it. And hopefully we're able to do that by reducing some of our costs as the methods that I mentioned. And if we are able to bring some new clients online, then hopefully we could hire somebody that could chart out a future, or we can continue to work with the Illinois Broadband Office to see what resources they're going to provide us.
Well, I know when I first came on, the situation was such that it was an economic attraction tool for the city of Aurora. Shore up our economic base, and it cost us practically nothing, and we're in profit sharing, and money was coming in our way as well. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to be a profit maker, and why it's going to benefit the taxpayer if we bring it on board. If we do it, I hope it's only temporary, and there's a plan to get out of that situation where we do go back to a non-for-profit status. It's been done, and I believe it can be done again with the right leadership and the right people on this board.
Okay, thank you. And I will do my best to be transparent. If anybody has any questions or wants documents, I'm going to do my best to make sure that we're answering your questions. So